Welcome back. Now, we often hear this phrase, men don't cry because it's a sign of weakness. But the truth is, men are human and have emotions. Now, are we doing enough to groom young boys to become good and responsible men? Or is it always about the girl child? Well, Ntodeni Nenungwi, who has taken it upon himself to empower boys in rural areas, this and a number of other community initiatives. Through his foundation, he now joins me in studio. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it.
Yes.
Let's just start off with your foundation.
Yes.
What is it about, and why did you decide to start this foundation? Because as I mentioned in my introduction, it's always about the girl. It's always about the bad that the boys do and how they harm the girls. But what are we doing to protect the boys? So tell us about your foundation and why you decided to start this.
All right. Thank you, Heidi, and all our viewers at home. To be, just to answer your question, but firstly, before I do that, let me just rather congratulate all our African teams who are there in Qatar for their World Cup.
Sure.
Needless to say, the reason why I had to start the foundation was that I was raised by a single mother. I grew up extremely very poor. I went to school without shoes and all that. I've gone through all the stages of becoming a young man. I've been involved in substance abuse and things like that. So, be that as it may, when I turned 40, I wanted to do something.
You're 40? I don't believe that.
Oh my God. No,
Sorry,
actually I'm
on.
41 by
Okay.
now. Yes. What I wanted to do was to actually give back to the community. And then I've realized that every time I go home to the village, I'll meet some of my peers that I've been to school with and other boys. They'll be saying to me, no, give us 5 rand, give us this, give us that. And you look at it, you go like, no. These people, they had the same opportunity that I had, but there was another person in the village who saw me as a young boy and decided to try and turn my story around. Remember, it, like the saying goes, it takes a village to raise the boy. So that is when I decided to say, okay, I'll rather start an initiative. You know, as you look in South Africa, I am not a sexist or anything, or this is actually happening around the world. Like you said in your introduction, you check, there is a lot of campaigns surrounding empowering a girl child. Bring a girl child to school, do this, but there is nothing happening to a boy child. Remember, I say an unempowered boy child meeting an empowered girl child, it's a disaster. That is why we always see all the stories of men doing this, men doing that to women. This is because they cannot be in a position to stand up for themselves, you know. That is basically some of the stories.
Sure.
That, yeah.
I want you to speak about whether or not this is being received well, because boys are sometimes very stubborn. Let's
Very
be honest.
true, yes.
And, you know, sometimes they don't want to be seen as being helped. And especially if they're young, they're supposed to be seen as growing up, I need to be strong, I can't be seen as weak, I can't cry, because if I cry, I'm going to be seen as a weak person. How is it being received, and where are you targeting? Is it just in rural areas?
No, look, let me tell you this. Currently, yes, that is mainly where we are actually based, in rural areas. We've been doing more in Vembe East, from the area where I come from in Limpopo. So what happens is, this year, when our foundation was turning 1 year old, what I decided to do was I spoke through my foundation to approach, because we had partnered with the Department of Education in Vembe East, so we've got a lot of schools surrounding that areas where we are doing most of these activities. So what we did was then now, I went to a specific school, because in that school there were a lot of hooliganism, if one can put it that way. And then mainly these are young boys, you know, who are not raised well. Some of them, you find that is because they are in a single-headed families. There is no one that they look up to. I spoke to the principal to organize those boys. There were 41 boys in number. Let me tell you, those boys whom, when the teacher walks inside the class, they start to make noise, they start beating each other. I spoke to them. I told them my story to say, where you are, I was. I spoke to them. What we did was that 41 of them, immediately after I went to the principal's room, after we done with our talks, and then we cut the cake because I was celebrating my birthday then.
Okay.
And then one of them brought back a paintbrush. The school, they were actually painting. He decided to steal a paintbrush. And then when he brought it in, he was just like laughing, and then he just threw it there. And then the principal said, do you see some of the things? And I grabbed that boy to say, okay, why did you actually steal that? It's like, you know what, to be honest with you, I don't know. But because of the talk that you have just had with us, I think I need to change. You see, I received a report to say, you know what, those boys, they actually have done well.
So
their story have changed.
So it's a lot about empowering, and I want to bring it into the context of oftentimes, and it's a sad reality, but oftentimes these young boys do what they see. So they do what they see at home or in the community when they see violence. As you say, sometimes they're raised by single parents, be it the mother or the father, and they don't know better. So just recently, this past week, we saw a fight breaking out in one of the schools here in Johannesburg where a 21-year-old grade 11 stabbed another grade 11 and he died. And it just shows you the serious violence that exists in our young people, which is very worrying. So tell us why, and if you think you are actually making a change, especially in the young boys, to say, this is not how you should function. This is not how you should operate. You should go out there and be something better in the community.
To be honest with you, we are really making a very big impact. Like an African adage that says, you can only change the shape of a brick while it is still wet. You see, so what we are dealing with, we are starting from the primary school, and we also do the secondary school. And then we are making sure that amongst these people, we are giving them mentorship programs. You see, we are giving them career guidance. We are boosting their self-esteem. You know, we run the anti-bullying campaigns, like you said. You know, these things of wherein one child will even go to an extent of going to fetch a knife and stabbing. No, that is actually horrible. You know, but what can we say? Our story has seen, like our foundation, we have seen a lot and lots of actually impact. You see, there were lots of dropouts in that areas. You see, sexual abuse, substance abuse. But when you sit down and you actually try to hear the story of these young people, you would be surprised, you know. And then some of the things, I'm not sure if I'm to mention this, but our foundation, it's a non-profit organization, and then we are self-funded, you know. So what we do is, some of them, they even come to an extent of saying, you know what, to be honest with you, I feel like giving up from coming to school. I don't have shoes, you know. I don't have clothes to come to school, you know. I'm so ashamed of walking through the class because I become like a laughing stock to these other kids. So we even go to an extent of buying them shoes. We, from our foundation, because we've been trying to fundraise for ourselves.
Sure.
So we made a shoe range called the Cracked Legs That Closed. You know,
wow.
This was named after me, you know, based on my story. So we have bought about 50,000 shoes that we have shared with almost many students, you know, and people who don't even have shoes. We also have the clothing range that is named after that. And then that, when we even go to orphanage, we offer them all these things. This, when they see that this person comes from our area and is assisting them, to be honest with you, they know where I come from.
Sure.
If I tell you my story, you will forget that you are wearing makeup.
Oh, goodness me. But thank you so much for joining us. I think you're doing a fantastic job, and don't stop, because I know there are many challenges, but hopefully there's more positive than bad. So well done to you. But thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate it. We do appreciate it. That's Ntodeni Nenungwi, who's the founder of the Ntodeni Foundation, just speaking to us about the importance of also uplifting boys. That's it for South